I think also we should have reverence for things like the chakra system, which is, a cross-cultural and ancient sort of awareness. And I think this is where science often doesn't hold any reverence for these things, sees them as kind of antique relics from the past. But the funny thing about it is that, where pain neuroscience is headed is, or certainly one of the key models that's used, is this biopsychosocial model.
Right.
And the biopsychosocial model obviously is talking about the biology, the psychology, and the social context within which those are housed.
Yeah. It's a good movement in the right direction.
It is, but that's exactly what the chakra system is. It's a biopsychosocial model, right? That's been around for 6,000 years plus.
And so they've just figured it out.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, well, not to mention the fact, I'm brain farting on her name. You might remember her name. The lady that she was a professor at UCLA, who was the first one to validate, Valerie Hunt. Valerie Hunt, Infinite Mind, I believe her book is called. Right. And I think it was 1978, she was the first one to scientifically prove the chakra system existed and was real and was undeniable. And since then, you've had countless research. So now you even have advanced technologies measuring the chakra system, filming it, entire systems of analysis based on it. You've got William A. Tiller's research, one of the most famous scientists that lived, with countless science awards, taught at Stanford University and wrote many great books, Science and Human Transformation being one of my favorites. But he showed the entire math and physics and physiology of the chakra system beyond a shadow of a doubt. But the point I'm making is, part of the disease that we have is that people that do real solid science on anything that goes against the gestalt of the standard medical approach get buried. And so you end up with doctors graduating from medical school who actually are way behind scientifically while thinking they're on the cutting edge.
Yeah.
So they're still prescribing pills and doing surgeries on what Chek professionals can address very effectively and knock out with compliance of the client indefinitely, like completely and utterly eliminate it. I can give you a great case history of exactly what I'm talking about. I have multiple of these, but I had a lady that came to me who had well, it's kind of a paradox. She had terrible uterine pain, but she'd had a hysterectomy. Right. And she also had chronic SI joint dysfunction. And she'd had a hysterectomy probably maybe a year before she finally found me. And, she was upset because the doctors told her it was all in her head. They said, "How can you have pain in your uterus? You don't have a uterus." And she said, "Well, it feels like I have pain right where my uterus is." Mm-hmm. Well, to make a long story short, once I did my analysis, it turned out that there was some unresolved sexual trauma, and there was also some infidelity that she had engaged in while being married. Mm-hmm. And nobody had ever addressed any of this with her. And after we identified this through my analysis and did some healing work on it, her uterine pain went away. Yeah. And so she sat there and looked at me with tears in her eyes after kind of like getting to our final session where I was about to discharge her. And she said, Paul, I have this terrible feeling that if I would have seen you first and we would have done this work, I would still have my uterus. And I said, I hate to say it, but chances are very good that's the truth, because the reason you still have uterine pain, which I'd already explained to her, but I said the reason you still have uterine pain is because the surgeon cut out the physical aspect of a subtle energy body. Yeah. I said, you still have a uterus, it's just you have an astral uterus. You don't have a physical uterus. So the each part of our body represents an aspect of our psyche.